Okay, 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this nice-looking Wednesday morning. Sandy Lichterman is in the studio. Danny Spungen is on the phone. Let me introduce both gentlemen to you. Sandy is a spokesperson for the Nazi Scourge. It's postal evidence of the Holocaust and the devastation of Europe. It's a traveling exhibit coming to our area, and he will explain what that's about. And Danny on the phone is the curator of the Nazi Scourge, and he'll be adding, of course, both gentlemen will be helping us understand what this is. I can tell you this, that it will be here in our area February 8th at the Trinity Catholic High School, on the 10th at the Temple B'nai de Rome, and on Top of the World Cultural Center on the 12th, and then on the 13th at the Savannah Center on El Camino Real in the Villages, which is a new venue as far as I know. I don't know. Sandy Lichterman in the studio, Danny Spungen on the phone. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
We're doing fine.
Very good.
There you are, Danny. Okay, now I can hear you. Can you hear him? Okay, Sandy. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, what is the show? What is the exhibit? It's postal evidence. What does that mean?
It's a group of several hundred pieces of Nazi war letters coming out of the concentration camps and the death camps. Danny can tell you how he acquired it, which is an interesting story in and of itself.
Yeah.
But Danny is a phenomenal person. My wife says he never sleeps because we get emails from him at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
But he travels. He's dedicated his life to this, and we appreciate the fact that, first of all, that he's a friend. And number two, that he's going to be bringing this exhibit. This is the first time it's ever been in Florida, and so it's really the response so far has been tremendous.
Okay, Danny, let me ask you. So where are you, Danny? Where are you calling from?
I'm actually right now. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm from Chicago.
Okay,
but I'm in Los Angeles doing presentations on the Holocaust.
Okay.
And to follow up on your question, there is no easy way of teaching World War II history and the Holocaust. The Holocaust is just one piece of World War II. And the way I do it is I use collectibles, philatelic and numismatic, so letters and money, used during World War II in the camps and ghettos. People are shocked to even learn that places like Auschwitz, Buchenwald, Dachau issued money. Not only that, Auschwitz had a post office.
I never knew that either. All right, so they were so the Nazis were allowing the prisoners to send mail home.
It was all part of the breakdown of humanity.
Was it? Was it censored? Did they receive the letters?
Oh yes.
Okay. All
right. And it's stationary. You had to write on certain stationery. Many camps had their own stationery with regulations, and the regulations changed over the years. So in 1933, when Dachau was established, the regulations on the stationery was very small.
Okay.
By 1941, there was tons of regulations on the stationery.
How did the collection of letters? How did they? I mean, I'm guessing they went all over the world. How did they become part of a collection?
A man named Ken Lawrence, for 30 years, he lives in Pennsylvania. He worked for the Southern Poverty Alliance, or whatever they call the organization. And for 30 years, he chased the KKK and Nazis around America. And when they marched, he would show his exhibit to churches, schools, libraries, the general public, saying the Holocaust did exist. It did happen.
Oh, so they were claiming
evidence.
They were trying to claim that the Holocaust didn't exist or didn't happen.
Among other things, of course, among their hatred message.
Okay, so so I'm trying to figure out how you got so many letters together. Did he have a few, and then because of him, with his campaign, more people started submitting letters that they had?
That's part of it. Now he's a very famous philatelic, stamp and writer, author, president of past associations. So he traveled the world gathering pieces, and it's not just letters; it's pieces of Torah, pieces of Jewish scripture written, torn in half, and then they put a Hitler's postage stamp on top of it.
Oh, yes. Sandy had told me that story, and just repeat that story for the listeners, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, for example, there are 5 pieces of Torah, Jewish scripture, like the Jewish Bible, ripped in half, ripped in pieces, and they were used as wrappers, parcel wrappers or envelopes. And German Nazis in the battlefield would take pieces of Torah, because it was made out of animal skin, and they would put a piece of Torah, a piece of stamp on a stamp, postage stamp, address it to their family, address it to their mothers, wives, family, and mail back to places like Austria. And
was there
I have 3 of them.
And what was the reason for doing that? Just to be disgraceful, or to...
Maybe. We don't know. We don't know the people who sent them.
Right.
One reason is to be disgraceful. One reason can be that paper was scarce, and animal skin is very tough and strong. In addition to making lampshades, window shades, passport holders, document holders, they used them as envelopes.
Wow, okay.
One example, and he collected documents like some passports with a big J in it, and it's saying that you're Jewish. He collected documents from the camps themselves. So it's an incredible collection. It's mostly letters and money.
Are the letters translated? I'm guessing they're not in English. Are they translated so that we, especially children, can read them and see what was being written?
That's the great thing about it. People can hold and pick up the pieces, and each piece has a story in English describing what they're looking at, and many, many pieces have portions of the letter translated, so you know what it's saying.
Sandy, I'm going to ask you a question. You've seen the exhibit, right?
I've seen part of the exhibit and held a piece of it, but I'm excited about it coming here also because I haven't seen the whole exhibit. Our dear friend Simon Waxberg, who was a Holocaust survivor, who Danny met when he came to Memphis, which was my home, and my former business partner Maurice Buring introduced him, and Simon, interestingly enough, had after the war lived with Oskar Schindler and his wife, and it was interesting that just yesterday the youngest Schindler's worker died, and but Simon traveled with Danny to tell his story, and Danny loved him just like we all loved him.
Is there one piece in the collection? I don't know who I would address this question to. Is there one piece, and maybe this was for both of you, maybe there's a different piece, but one piece that really, oh man, you see this one, you read it, you understand what it is, and it just gets to you. It either gets you angry or touches you in some way. More so than the others.
Well, first of all, the exhibit for me as an exhibitor, if some people do get angry or upset, I like to say that each piece makes me want to learn more about the breakdown of humanity all across the human board.
Right.
There's one piece where the stamps were removed, and you can find a little secret message, because you were not allowed to say anything outside the regulations.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, wow.
And if you pull a stamp out, it says, please, I have enough sweaters, send me food. And now you're not allowed to ask for anything, because if you ask for anything, you're insinuating to the outside world that you don't have enough.
If you sent something in those days, would they receive it?
Yes. Yes.
Really? Especially
the non-Jewish prisoners, you can get packages of food. You can get packages, of course, they'll confiscate most of it for themselves.
So the concentration camps, the Jewish people were clearly discriminated against, even in the context of a concentration camp.
Sure, yeah, they were discriminated even more.
Yeah.
But now, concentration camp mail between Jewish prisoners, to and from prisoners, is extremely rare. What's even more rare is prisoner mail between husbands and wives in separate camps.
Really?
So it does exist, yes. There's a breakdown in humanity, and anything can happen.
So that would hit me.
Money.
If I were to pick up a piece and I realized it was one of those rare letters from a husband to a wife or vice versa, I mean, that would hit me, knowing that these two people were separated against their will, probably murdered eventually. It just breaks your heart when you think about it.
The emotion you'll have when you pick up a piece is realizing what that piece went through and what it did, and you grab the horrors of it. Just grab your body. You can't help. Danny,
some camps had brothels. You could take the money that you earned in Auschwitz, and actually in Buchenwald, for example, and you can get a prostitute that came from Ravensbrück, the women's camp. There were 10,004 concentration camps, approximately. It was a huge system of subcamps.
So they were pimping out
So
the female prisoners? Is that, you mean the prostitutes were prisoners?
Yeah, there was many camps. I think at least 20 camps that had brothels. There's books on this too.
Wow.
And you can take the money from in Buchenwald and go right to a brothel. Now this is if you're non-Jewish.
Since there was all of this communication, which I was not aware of growing up through history class, since there was all this communication going back and forth from the concentration camps to the outside world, where was the United States government in all of this? Surely they had to have their eyes opened. They must have known about this correspondence. How come the U.S. government didn't just make this big push to try to free the people?
Well, the letters were censored, so only certain information can be sent out. The Dutch government was in exile in England, and they said something is wrong. We only received 1,700 letters at the Amsterdam airport post office between I think it's July 1942 and November 1943. Something's wrong because we get a lot more mail than that. So the mail's also a way for the Nazis to show the world that, hey, we have a civilized system to hold our prisoners. That's why some of the letters were actually intentionally written.
Are any of the writers of the letters still around?
Oh yes, many of the letters that actually survived came from people who held the letters.
Oh,
now,
okay.
Many of the letters that I have show a trail of families outside the system trying to find their relatives inside the concentration camp system.
Did
like
any
the Singer family?
Did any of the non-Jewish prisoners try to help out the Jewish prisoners who were more subdued and more discriminated against? Did they try to help them get the word out to their families?
I'm sure many stories. Unfortunately, there weren't enough righteous, good people. But within the camps, to survive, you had to lean on other people.
We're going to have.
So I'm sure
we're going to have actual survivors at each one of these venues, and one of the survivors we have is Catholic, who came out of Auschwitz.
Okay, wow.
So, and she's got quite a story. About
why was she captive? Why did they bring her into the prison camp?
Well, it wasn't just 6 million Jews who were killed. 20 million Russians, 10 million Christians, and 1,900 Catholic priests were murdered, raped, burned, starved, beaten, experimented on, and humiliated, while the rest of the world looked the other way.
Well, you had the Polish resistance, the underground. So there are many, as Jehovah's Witnesses, gypsies were in the camps. So there's a variety of people, and thank God for history's sake, there is some of them survive to tell their stories and document this breakdown in humanity.
Let me just reintroduce both of you. Sandy Lichterman is in the studio. Danny Spungen is out in California. I didn't realize that until you started speaking. There is a traveling exhibit coming to Ocala, and this will feature actual tangible pieces of postal evidence from Holocaust survivors and Holocaust victims, I guess you would say. It's Friday, February 8th at the Trinity Catholic High School, Sunday, February 10th at Temple B'nai Durham, on Top of the World Cultural Center on the 12th of February, and then on the 13th, the Savannah Center on El Camino Real in the Villages. How far back in time, when did the traveling exhibit start? How far back? How long has this been around?
Well, Ken Lawrence started this back in the 70s. It's been in Korea. It's been won gold medals at all these exhibitions. I've been traveling around the world, including Greece, which has been translated to Greek. My exhibit's been translated to Chinese, which will be there in May of this year for a whole month. And I've been doing this since 2008.
Does it make its way into Germany ever?
I've been to Germany many times with many of the pieces, but I've never exhibited there. However, I have thousands of pieces, by the way. The main exhibit is about 350 pieces. I have thousands, and one exhibit I have, one collection is the largest in the world of the Łódź ghetto, Łódź, Poland. and I think I'll donate most of that to a new museum being built in Warsaw, opening up in 2014.
And Sandy, how does it make you feel when you hear some people out there that deny that this whole thing happened?
Well, when there are deniers, I've never personally met with a denier, but I hear the story all the time. And when that happens, the United States is a free country, and people can think whatever they like. That's why this exhibit, or an exhibit like this, for people of goodwill to come and see, and they will make their own opinion when they see this. No one who sees this exhibit can say that the Holocaust didn't exist. Those are political statements by a few governments like Iran, which is primarily why we want to bring this exhibit and this collection to Central Florida. It's in a way to honor our Simon Waxberg, our dear friend, but Maurice and I also feel it's our duty, not just as Jews, but as human beings, to tell this story so that it never happens again. It's our hope and prayer that this effort will keep the history of the Holocaust alive.
Yeah. Since they were obviously aware that anything they wrote that would be incriminating wouldn't make its way to its recipient, did they try to write in code? I mean, you've already mentioned secret messages under the stamp. Were there any other ways that they tried to secretly get a message?
Yes, there's sometimes in a letter you'll put in between words another word. So you'll try to, and they had systems. I mean, there's one book called A Lost Childhood, where survivor Yehuda Nir would talk about how between hiding places they write letters, and then you would place a sheet with holes in it, and in those spots you would actually have a message.
Oh, wow. Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, there are ways of doing that.
And when we look at the exhibit, do we see examples of that, and maybe an explanation how we can translate it, or how it was translated?
Oh yeah, I'm still learning English, so yeah, everything the exhibit is, it's really for 8th graders and above. Anything less than 8th grade, it's too much reading and too much.
Well, yeah, but it's important. It sounds to me like it's very important that this exhibit exists. It sounds like it's very important that, like you say, young people grasp it, because they're the ones who have to make our future and be on the lookout for this kind of crazy stuff. It's happened throughout humanity. This is just maybe one of the more recent ones, but throughout humanity.
That's the sad part, is when we say never again, unfortunately it happens in every generation. But with all the museums now, the new Holocaust Museum in Illinois, new museums have been built in Poland and Macedonia, hopefully the next generations will be better prepared, and with the communications now getting much, much better, we can stop these genocides. But it's tough. Humanity is sensitive. It's a tough deal.
Sandy, did you want to say?
There's also in this exhibit examples of the counterfeit Bank of England paper money that was printed by slave labor during the Nazis' failed attempt to bring down the Bank of England, and it was subject to the 2007 Academy Award winning movie The Counterfeiters, if you recall it.
Yeah.
That's a great story. The movie there's a lot of quote fiction in the movie. The movie's fantastic, but the facts are embellished for Hollywood.
Okay.
But it is the biggest counterfeiting scheme in history, and I have probably the biggest number of counterfeit notes in the United States.
Are you sending out invitations to? And otherwise, you're on the air right now. Obviously, you're making a public invitation to attend. But are there are you addressing the schools? Say, hey, we've got this exhibit. Why don't you come take the kids and see it?
Yes, we have. We sent out 746 letters to every church and synagogue in the 3 counties, and the response has been overwhelming. My phone has been ringing off the hook.
Oh, great!
And
there is on our website, the SpungenFoundation.org. Every time Sandy sends me a flyer from a church or a newsletter from an organization highlighting the exhibit coming, I put that flyer on our website.
Okay,
so really interesting. The response has been fantastic.
So it sounds like first I owe you an apology. I've been saying your name wrong. It's Spungen?
Oh, Spungen, it's okay. Spungen. It is Spungen, but
So
people say Spungen all the time.
SpungenFoundation.org is the website?
Yes.
Okay, SPUNGEN Foundation.org.
Right.
I want to emphasize that there is no charge for anybody to come and see this exhibit. There will be no charge. We don't want people to not come because there's a fee. Although I believe that this exhibit easily people would have to pay multiple dollars to come and see this exhibit, an exhibit of this type. But we don't want to charge anything because it's such an important part of history.
Is it destined for a permanent home eventually after the exhibit traveling is over, or is it going?
Well, I have every museum wants the exhibit. The problem is they don't have the space. And I want kids in Montana. I'm going to Montana in March. I go to places where there are no museums. So
Right.
my goal is that it's in the foundation. This will continue for generations, traveling the world, so students, the general public, can actually pick up and hold a Nazi armband, a piece of money, letters from families trying to find other family members.
Right. Can I ask? I don't know if it's a personal question or not, but if it's an insensitive question, then I apologize. But is the money that's supporting this coming from your families? I'm only wondering that Sandy had told me something that you have a very generous background in your family, Danny.
If you Google something like Danny Spungen bonus, in 2008, when we sold our company, we were one of the top news stories in Thanksgiving 2008. When we sold our ball bearing company, we gave our 230 employees over $6 million. And our employees were mostly Mexican, Puerto Rican, just regular working folks in the warehouse.
Wow.
And when we sold our company, I wanted to give back to the community. And I have no Holocaust survivor, no Holocaust issues in my family. We lost nobody. I was a stamp and coin collector. And by accident, I got a hold of this exhibit. And something went off in my head. I never learned anything about the Holocaust growing up. Very, very little.
Very little.
When I grew up, we never talked about it. We never spoke about it.
Yeah.
So it was just something that hit me in the head, and I love doing it. It's my way of giving back to the community.
Well, and so in other words, it's self-funded. Just so the listeners know, it's not taxpayer-funded, and there's no entrance fee to pay for it. And you're not going to be hit for something when you go there. You guys are paying for it. Your family's. The money from your family is paying for it. All right. The other thing I need to tell you is we do the show live. We got a few minutes left if you want to speak to some listeners. Are you open for calls?
Sure.
All right. Let me make sure I have all the buttons pushed right. Good morning. Thank you for being patient. You're on the air with Sandy Lichterman and Danny Spungen.
Good morning, gentlemen. I agree with what you've said. I do take a little bit of an exception to America knew and did nothing. We were attacked on December 7th, 1941. And up until that time, Americans did not want to get involved in another war. We just got done basically with World War I. The problem with your exhibit, the problem with everything, including the world, is everybody doesn't want to teach history anymore. It's an absolute shame what's going on. But at that time in World War II, at the beginning of it, yes, Roosevelt knew about it. A lot of people in Washington knew about it. But they were too busy gearing up to fight a two-front war, the European theater and the Asian theater or Japanese theater, whatever way you want to call it.
All right, and that makes sense that you would be upset at that.
I actually agree. As a docent, at the Holocaust Museum, as a collector, and I'm only a student, by the way. I'm 51 years old, but I'm a full-time student. I agree that everybody is so emotional. I always hear, my mother passed away thinking that Roosevelt was 100% anti-Semitic. Everybody wants to blame and feel guilt in their different ways. But, sir, you are correct. The life in the world is very complicated back in those days. There's many reasons why countries did things, and you can't just point the finger in any one direction. It's a complete breakdown on the world stage. So I would agree that to teach history, I always like to say that my exhibit is a good introduction to break down humanity. If you like what you see and pick up and touch, then go take a real class, but take several classes, because each professor, each textbook has their own twist on what happened, because it's too complicated to tie this up in a little knot and put in a box.
All right, very, very wise. I like the way you responded to that, Danny. All right, well, the time went too fast. I apologize to any other listeners who wanted to get in. All right, this is what you need to do, and we're going to help you as a radio station. I want to make sure that we get the word out about this more than just this one interview, so we'll kind of make a little rotating thing that'll play Friday, February 8th. The first one at 6 o'clock in the evening, till 9 p.m. at Trinity Catholic High School. The second one on Sunday, the 10th of February, from noon till 4:30 at Temple B'nai Durham, which is on Banyan Course here in Ocala. Where is that? Is that in
Banyan Course, right off of Baseline Road.
Okay. And then Top of the World Cultural Center on Tuesday, February 12th, and that's from 11 a.m. till 4 p.m., and Wednesday, February 13th, from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. at the Savannah Center on El Camino Real in the Villages. Robin already has all of that information on the WOCA website on today's date on the guest list. If you go there, you can go copy and paste it and send it to your friends. The website is spungenfoundation.org, SPUNGEN foundation.org. And Sandy, you're the local contact person, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So do you want phone calls?
I've been getting them all along, and I might as well get more.
And what is your number?
My home number is 352-350-1622, but you can reach me on my cell phone, which is 352-603-3332.
Okay. Danny, you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Or I wasn't sure if I lost you now. Okay. Danny, thank you. So, will you be in town for these exhibits?
Oh, yes, I'll be there everywhere. As a matter of fact, I booked up a Rotary meeting at 7:30 in the morning one day, so I'm going to work 24/7. When I travel, I give it all my best, and I'll give my 30-minute PowerPoint each day, several times a day, and I think it'll be a lot of fun for sure.
Well,
very good.
We want to help you promote it. It's a very worthy thing to promote. It's the nature of human beings. You know, Anne Frank said she believes that we're all good. You know, I think there's enough bad ones so that the good ones are just as bad if they don't do anything. And teaching is something that we can do. So, teaching about the bad ones is something we can do.
We appreciate that.
Danny, thank you for being on the air, getting up early, by the way, out in the West Coast.
No problem.
And Sandy,
all right,
thank you for coming in.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And for educating us. We will take a little break, and we will be right back.
Digital Graphics Reborn. Phoenix Promotional Solutions. When you need vehicle wraps, banners, t-shirts, window graphics, you need to call Phoenix Promotional Solutions at 368-2404. 368-2404. When you need building signs, vehicle wraps, yard signs, realty signs, business cards, you need to call 368-2404. 368-2404. Phoenix Promotional Solutions. Digital Graphics Reborn.
This is Wendy and Will of Dex Imaging. By now, you might be tired of hearing us talk about Dex. So instead of us telling you how much Dex can save you on your copier costs and how we can help your office be more efficient, we thought we'd let Judy tell you.
Hi, I'm Judy, the office manager of Graper Facial Institute here in Gainesville. We operate 8 medical offices, so I was looking for a document management system that would copy, scan, print, and share documents among all of our locations, but something that was within our budget. Dex Imaging recommended a Kyocera with their Index solution. It's been amazing. This machine does everything we need it to, including a direct scan into our current